Welcome back to my Goose Reviews. All right, y'all, this is my review for It. Welcome to Derry. Spoilers review, episode 8. But before we get into the review, again, we're close to 1,000 subscribers. After that, we're going to 10,000. We're on our way to 100,000. Then we're going to be at 1,000,000. We're going to claim it, and it will happen. So, all right, y'all, I've seen nothing but praises to the show. This is absolutely a fantastic show. I love it, man. I'm going to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about the whole show, man. But at the same time, man, this was a great series. One of my favorite like movie to television adaptations I've ever seen, man. Like what Andy Muschietti and his wife and what the whole team did, man, really going to Stephen King's lore really deep, man. Really speaks volumes of how much they love and respect it. And you can see the product has what it's done on television, man. It's a great show. Absolutely, man. So pretty much it kind of picks up at the last episode from the Black Spot event. We see like the mist coming in. So, there's another tease to another Stephen King novel, The Mist, that's coming in Derry because Pennywise's hibernation for 27 years has been interrupted because the military took that shard and melted it because in their minds, hey, we want to use it to contain him. He's fear and all that kind of stuff, right? Crazy, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, at that point, you see people freaking out in there. You see this one really creepy scene of this lady, hand on on the glass and everything, had this real big smile on her face. You could tell it's Pennywise in another form. So that was really wild. At that point, you see it fast forwards to the kids in the high school. Really, probably one of my favorite scenes in the whole season when pretty much all the kids, the principal comes over the intercom and say, hey, I need all the students to come to the auditorium. And that's when the kids walk in and say, hey, where are all the teachers at, right? Anyway, they get to the auditorium and the principal comes out and he's talking like a ventriloquist, like somebody's, holding him like a dummy. And that's when Pennywise comes out, gouges his eyes, rips off his head, kicks his body in front of the kids, kicks his head out the window, and the kids are freaking out. It was a wild scene. He starts doing this real creepy dance, and then he reveals his banner. And through the banner, you see his carousel, and that's when he hits all the kids with the deadlights. They all float in the air, and then he leads them to, his carousel and takes them out pretty much. So yeah, like I said, it was, of course, different plots going on. You had Rose, you had Tano, you had Charlotte, you had you had Hank Grogan. They all were at one spot. Leroy goes after Holloran because Holloran is still dealing with seeing the spirits because of the Shining, because what Pennywise did to him. So he's seeing all the ghosts and all that kind of stuff, and it's messing with him to the point where he's ready to, go that route. You know what I'm saying? It was really wild scene, but Leroy definitely needed his help because he got a phone call from Pennywise saying, hey, I got your son. I got Will right at that point, because we all know what the Hanlons, their legacy and how Pennywise, they definitely interfere and deal with Pennywise, going all the way down to Mike, who's part of the Losers Club that defeat him. So the Hanlons definitely have a tie to Pennywise, you know what I'm saying? So he went after them and they used Holloran. They got Holloran and took him over to Rose because he was seeing the spirits and everything. Rose was able to give him like a remedy that we also seen in It Chapter 2 that Mike gave Bill, right? It's the same thing that he was able to like knock down, seeing the spirits and stuff like that. But at the same time, he would still see spirits, but it was more so the good ones and everything. But at the same time, he was able to navigate and find where the kids were going because he was able to track the crystal, that Ronnie, Lily, and Marge had, right? They were going over there. They finally caught up to Pennywise. And it was a really wild scene. Pennywise he had all the kids up in the air. They all were floating. He had like a tuba. And it really reminded me of the Pied Piper, the story of the Pied Piper, how he would use music to lure the children out. He was using the tuba and everything. It was a really creepy scene too. He's playing that tuba and all the kids are like, they're just really hypnotized, right? So as they're running out to get him, Pennywise attacks, Marge, Lily, and Ronnie. Even though Ronnie's trying to protect them with the shard, he goes after Marge. And Pennywise reveals to Marge who she is. Now, this was something that a lot of theories online were definitely confirmed, that Marge is Richie's mother. Richie is, from the Losers Club in Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. And Pennywise can't stand it because one thing Marge said that her son says later on is, let's go kill this effing clown. You know what I'm saying? I was like, okay, yeah, she's definitely Richie's son. And one thing Pennywise revealed is the fact that I can see time all at once, past, present, or future. It doesn't matter to me. I know what I am. I'm an entity. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much like I'm like a demigod. You know what I'm saying? Whereas humans, y'all see things linear. He said, well, for me, I can see it all. He was like, and I know what your son tries to do. Like your son, they try to, they kill me and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was a really cool, like that theory was definitely out there. It was explained. So I was like, okay, bet. So I knew that was confirmed, you know what I'm saying? Because of what Richie, her friend, did in episode 7, protecting and, sacrificing himself for her. She named her son after him. So that was a very sweet scene. Like that was really cool. As he's about to attack Marge, he stops because Holloran got in his head, and Holloran's now like Aunt Pennywise's head messing with him. So now Pennywise thinks he's back in 1908, and stuff like that. And they're like, Bob, hey, it's you. He's with the circus gang and stuff. He's like, I'm not Bob, I'm a demigod and stuff like that. And then, the guy kind of smacks him around, and then his hand hits the ground. He sees his hand is black. He's like, oh, it's you, Dick. He's like, you messing with me again. Like, Hollering was definitely the OG of this show, man. He really was. You said the military, then they started getting involved. I couldn't stand the military in this, bro. They started getting involved as the kids fall down because Pennywise, he's under that hypnosis state. They get the kids away, the children away. Then that's when Will, Ronnie, Marge, and Lily, they run to the bush to, put the shard down and stuff like that. Military starts getting in. There's a shootout and everything. Leroy, he gets hit in the hip. Daniel, he gets shot in the neck. He passes away. That was really sad, man. He was definitely an MVP as well. He was doing his thing in the show, so that was sad. Rose's reaction to seeing her nephew go out like that. So yeah, man, it was a big old shootout and stuff. I'm sorry, General Shaw. He actually sees Pennywise, and he's like, he remembers him. He was like, hey, you can go. And Pennywise walked past him. He said, oh, I smell you. I never forget the smell. And then he revealed himself as when he first saw him as a little boy with Rose when he was back in the woods. And he started freaking out. He was like, yup, it's you. And then he attacked Shaw, took him out and stuff like that. And then now, you see the army and everybody, looking at the kids going, trying to put the shard back into the tree. You see Pennywise running after him and stuff like that. It was a really wild scene, man. It was the whole thing, how it came together was really great. And then at that point, Hollering, he looks over and sees the spirit of the ancestor who was the first one to fight Pennywise and stuff like that. And he sees Richie. He says, Richie's spirit. He was right there. And Richie runs past. He's running towards them. Leroy, he kind of shoots down Pennywise and stuff to kind of like slow him down and stuff. That was really cool. And then, what's the boy's name? I'm sorry, Richie. He walks past, he runs past, Pennywise, gives him the middle finger and stuff like that. And, he goes over to help the friends, put the shard in the crystal down there in the bush. At that point, Pennywise attacks him. Really cool transformation. He turned into like a, bird and stuff. They were able to get it in there. He was trapped and everything like that. He's like lively crowd. So out of everybody in the cast, the only one who really passed away was Daniel. I thought Charlotte was going to pass away, but she didn't. The kids were able to get the shard together. Then you see, fast forwards to Richie's funeral. You see Richie's family there, his friends there, and Hollering shows up and he actually sees Richie's spirit like behind Will and his dad. And he looks back and gives him a smile. It was a very sweet scene. It really was, man. The kids are really balling. They're going through it and stuff because Richie was like, man, I love Richie. He was him and Hollering were my favorite in this whole show besides Pennywise. Oh, and Charlotte. Yeah, yeah. But then at that point, like Hollering goes over to talk to his parents. He's like, hey, your son is with you and stuff. Because you can see Richie like holding on to his mom and his dad. So that was very good. It was a very sweet show. It kind of wraps everything up to a bow. Like Marge talks to Lily and say, hey, man, the clown talked to me. He told me about my son and stuff like that and how he can see different times and how like he can go back. He said, well, what about our ancestors, people that dealt with him? So this is literally part 1. So that was cool. It says, Welcome to Derry, part 1 at the end. So the Welcome to Derry, part 2 and 3 are going to take place in 1935 and 1908. So it's literally going backwards. But yeah, really great show, man. Absolutely fantastic show. Other things, yeah, so the Hanlons, they were going to leave, Charlotte, Leroy and Will, but they stay back. You actually see Will and Ronnie have a scene. I knew they were going to fall in love with each other. She kisses him and stuff like that. But, Ronnie, her dad and her grandmother, they do leave town, after everything that happened. So that, like I said, everything wrapped up in a nice bow. What else? Yeah, that was pretty much it. Oh, yeah, and then now you go to, Juniper Hill. That's you see Mrs. Kirch in there. Mrs. Kirch, Periwinkle, Pennywise's mother, she's tripping. His daughter, she's in there tripping. They start playing the music. Then it fast forwards to 1988, right? Movie time. Part 1, movie time. So she's an old lady in there. She's actually drawing a painting of Periwinkle holding Pennywise's hand. Really nice painting as well. She hears some crying in the hallway. She walks out into the hallway. And as she goes in the room, she sees a woman hanging with the red hair and see like the husband on the ground crying. And there's a young girl with the red hair trying to comfort her father. And father, pushes her off and stuff. She looks back. It's Beverly. It's Beverly from part 1. And she looks over to Miss Kirk. She says, oh, Derry, Derry, nobody who dies in Derry really dies. And it goes back to that scene in part 2. How Beverly met Mrs. Kirk. So yeah, man, absolutely cool show. Definitely some, not multiverse, but some, Christopher Nolan timeline stuff going on. But overall, man, a fantastic show. Absolutely fantastic show. Again, thank you for staying. If you stayed for this whole video, hearing me ramble on, I love it. Like I said, I'll shoot from the hip. Really didn't have my notes. But overall, man, fantastic, man. The casting on here has been great. The direction on here, just the visual effects. Now, that's one thing I would say. The visual effects really were hit and miss for me. In this, they were actually fine. Like, especially when you see Pennywise like transforming into the bird, see like the kids floating, even the mist. Like the visual effects in here were actually good. But there were some episodes I'm like, all right, bro, that looks crazy. That looks crazy. It was to the point it was scary. It was funny, like when you see the kids in the graveyard with the spirits trying to chase them, of their dead friends and stuff. Like that was like some goosebump stuff. That didn't scare me at all. But overall, absolutely great show, man. They absolutely knocked it apart. Andy Muschietti, his team, his wife, they've done a fantastic job. Stephen King, like this has been great. Absolutely one of my favorite series I've ever seen, man. So yeah, if you guys have never seen Welcome to Derry, please go watch It Chapter 1 that came out in 2017, It Chapter 2 that came out in 2019, and go watch him Welcome to Derry. Just like you definitely appreciate him, trust me. But yeah, man, again, tell me what you guys think about the show if you have seen it. Hope everybody has a blessed day. I'll see y'all soon. Have a good one.